the outside doors, we have noted that there's a capacity of 85 people to be in the room, and as people leave, then others will be able to come in and take their place as well. But we have to comply to all of the rules and regulations of the fire department and so forth. So please bear with us during this time. So at this time, we will have oral communications. And persons wishing to address the board, persons wishing to the board under this item should fill out the yellow cards that you have. And communication will be for 3 minutes. And we request that you adhere to the 3 minutes. This is going to be a long session, and so we would like for you not to give your 3 minutes to someone else. We would prefer that you stick to your 3 minutes. If there are many, to 3 minutes only. So this is what we will do at this time. So we will have the first speaker.
Brown Act.
Brown Act.
Brown Act.
Brown Act.
Brown Act.
Trustee Salcido was suggesting that we do this item first. It will be first on the agenda so that we can have item 16 be brought forward first. So we will have all of the speakers speak on the items that you will come to speak on in grade 16. So the first...
Point of order, President. I think in order to make the change in the agenda, it has to be by motion of the board. Before it
Yes, do I have a motion that we bring this item forward? Second? Okay. Mr. Aguilar motion and Mrs. Valiantoli second. Do I hear?
Under discussion?
The discussion?
Yes, I appreciate the fact that we're nominating the public and letting this item come forward. Just point of clarity, when you say first, is that after or before the public communication?
It's after the public communication.
Thank you.
Then we will go to the item.
Right.
So that everyone doesn't have to wait.
Okay, just for that clarification. So we'll have, with that amendment, ensuring that the item 16A will come after the public communication.
Well, that's what I meant, yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Please vote. All right. We go down and pass, we will do as I said. The first person that we have to speak, who does not want to speak on the agenda, and it's not on the agenda, but it's Mr. Ray Lutz.
Thank you. My name is Ray Lutz. I'm with citizensoversight.org, and the film will be available on our website if you'd like to watch the meeting. I'd like to suggest that you look around for a bigger room. There's a lot of people who want to attend the meeting outside, and you can't really attend the meeting. You can't see, the expressions and so forth if you run it in this little tiny room. We also had it run in the Coronado Unified School District, where there wasn't even enough room at all. I noticed the law enforcement and fire department was really worried when we were over there because they were counting heads and it was over the limit. So that's my suggestion on that. The other thing is, we found in our discussions with the State Attorney General's office that it's okay for people to submit their card and speak on an item up to the point when the item comes up for discussion. The idea that they have to put it in before a certain time of the meeting, they said that wasn't the case. So I can deliver that documentation if you'd like. That's the end of my comments. Thank you.
Might as well stay there because you have a yellow card and for 3 minutes. Is that what you're going to talk about? Is there were 2 yellow cards.
Oh, is it, no, the other one is on item 16A.
Okay, 16A.
Yeah.
We can talk on that, if you'd like.
Okay. Since I guess there's no further public comment, I did send to the board a 5-page document detailing the review of the current memorandum of understanding that's on the table and justification for not approving it and going ahead with another project. So I'm not going to try to go over each point because you've all received this and I have copies for everybody just in case you missed it in your email. Briefly though, there are problems with the current agreement in terms of the fact that the XE can publicize that they are making, that they have this agreement with you guys so they can use it as a marketing campaign. And that they will be indoctrinated the students will be indoctrinated into the possibility of working for Blackwater as a career path. And by doing so, you are basically endorsing that career path. We would like to discourage you from doing that. And the termination, you should have no 4 months on your side. The Otay Mesa facility, I gave you a lengthy history of why the city tried to review that and have the public review it. It was taken to federal court, and the city it was basically forced down their throat with a restraining order at the lowest possible level. So this is leaves a bad taste in everybody's mouth. The federal cases I mentioned, there's 4 federal cases with some 20 victims coming up. You don't want to really be around this hoopla that's going to happen. But what is the positive way forward? What I want to suggest is something that's came up in my discussions with Lisa Curtin, who runs the military training program at City College. I asked her if she had any trouble finding shooting ranges. She said no. However, she said we should do some planning so that colleges like Southwestern College and others can have their needs met, both for the students, for police, for sheriffs, and so forth. So the idea is to have a regional security summit. I know that the city is into it. I know you've received a letter from Council President Ben Hueso. I know that Bob Filner came and talked to you, and all these community spokespeople. We should sit down, take the list of shooting ranges that you have, review those with everybody in the county. You're not alone here. You don't have to make this decision as a lone ranger without help from everybody else. We can put this agreement aside, cancel it. It can always be renewed. I'm sure Blackwater will love to have you come to their shooting range if it's absolutely necessary. Put this aside and cancel it, and let's go forward with a positive direction of looking at all these shooting ranges and deciding what should happen in concert with everybody else in the region. That's the way to solve this in a constructive manner. We want to have your facilities available, but going down this trail with Blackwater is the wrong way to go. And that's been voiced over and over again, and I'm sure you'll hear more. And unfortunately, if you approve the agreement, we're going to have to keep doing it. And frankly, I don't want to have to come back here every single meeting to go over this. I worked for over 2 years on the Potrero issue, and I'm going to keep working on it and working on it and working on it if that's necessary. Please don't make me come in here meeting after meeting and talk about this, because that's what's going to happen if this thing gets approved, because we're going to be asking for you not to approve it every single meeting. Take this off, disapprove it, and then let's go forward and be constructive. Thank you.
Next speaker is Eleanor Rector. And after this, I'll call like 3 names in a row, and then we'll be ready to come out.
Good evening. Remembering the names of the 4 young American men who were brutally massacred in Fallujah. Scott Helveston from Florida, Jerry Zavko from Ohio, Wes Bartoloni from Hawaii, and Mike Teague from Tennessee. Jerry Zotko's mother said, and this is a quote from the book Blackwater, which I copied some pages, "I found that there were no rules and no laws that govern what my son was doing. He was working for a company that could do whatever they wanted to do and however they wanted to do it." On Fox News, retired Colonel Ralph Peters said, answering the question, who was driving around in unprotected SUVs in Iraq? Either they were the most foolish contractors in the history of mankind or intelligence people. Jeffrey Gettleman, New York Times correspondent from Fallujah, wrote, "What is really mysterious is why two unescorted, unarmored trucks would be driving through the downtown of one of the most dangerous cities in Iraq without any serious protection." And in the interest of time, we'll skip down to Eric Prince, owner and CEO of Blackwater, or he was the owner. "Like what the military officers who gave training to the Continental Army, we are doing in Iraq or Afghanistan. We're giving them the capability to defend themselves, so you don't have to send big conventional military to do that. But we did send big conventional military to do that, and 4,268 Americans have been killed, and over 20,000 have been seriously wounded. Are you seriously going to entrust the lives of the students of Southwestern College to such an organization that has the blood of hundreds on their hands, and quite possibly some of the millions and a million and a half Iraqis who have been killed? Are you going to take their blood money? Dare you give a taxpayer-funded college over to them? No, 1,000 times no. Break any and all agreements with them today. Thank you.
We have Martha Sullivan, Michael Kennedy, and Pam Hoy.
I'm just going to speak briefly and then give the rest of it to you. Okay.
Hi, I'm Michael Kennedy. I'm just an ordinary citizen. I want to register my disapproval of Blackwater in general, and I see no need to use a public facility like this to further the aims of a private army. That is unacceptable. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Did you say Martha Sullivan?
Yeah, you're next.
Yeah. I just wanted to speak briefly, and then I'm going to turn over the balance of my time to Ray Lutz. I wanted.
Do that. I just said 3 minutes each, and you can't do that.
I'm sorry?
You cannot. You can have your 3 minutes, but not give it to someone else.
The card says you can.
Tonight we are changing it because.
Why didn't we get notice of that?
And I called our council for this.
Why didn't we get notice of
I'm
that?
sorry, I'm calling on our council.
We do have a very lengthy agenda, and there are many speakers who want to address this issue. And as the president...
That's all right, Martha.
And the president...
I'm sorry, let's be quiet and be respectful.
The president of the board has indicated, and the board supports, that each speaker be given their full opportunity to speak for 3 minutes, and that's the
It's all right.
message. And that's,
It's okay.
that is legal.
And I did announce that at the beginning.
It's okay, Martha, just do it.
So you
But
don't have-
not when we filled out our speaker card.
You have your 3 minutes.
Okay, well, I'll use them then. I'd like to make sure that you're aware that today there was testimony before the United States Senate, chaired by Senator Whitehead from Rhode Island. It was a very unique, special hearing in that they had to have at least one of the witnesses behind curtains so that his face would not be shown and his identity would not be released in the media. This witness was a former CIA intelligence operative who performed interrogations in Afghanistan and Iraq. He was testifying about the use of enhanced interrogation techniques, which we all know from reports in the media, is basically torture. We know by all the accounts that have come out in the media, by reports that have been issued so far by our government and the new administration, that this is a very, very serious consequence to this country, to our credibility, to, you know, observing our law. This witness testified, you know, as a professional interrogator for the CIA, that in his experience, when he interrogated one of the first high-value detainees, Zabida, that it was not the CIA or the FBI who were promoting these enhanced interrogation techniques. In fact, they were contractors that were promoting them. And I want to make this point very clear to you, just to reinforce what's been said so far. Contractors are the ones who promoted torture. They're the ones who have gotten this country into the situation where we cannot stand before the world as we did before, with our credibility and our integrity intact. So please, please, give this CIA interrogator, you know, his testimony your serious consideration. It was on national public radio this afternoon. You can verify it on the U.S. Senate website of what the hearings were today under Senator Whitehead. Please take this under consideration. This is not, you know, contractors in this war. This is not something we want to invite on this campus and suggest to students as a career. Thank you.
Madam Chair, if I could have some staff just bring
I'm
the
sorry?
microphone to her. Take it off its yes.
I just want to say you really don't want to do this. You really don't want to contact with what, but it's that the college is that for your students. It's that for the area and it's that for America. You don't want to do it. Thank you.
Well done. And next we have Carl Manister.
That's me, can we?
That's you?
Yeah,
Okay.
so somebody wants to go
And
ahead.
then Chloe Ramus and Rebecca Walnowitz.
I call it walnuts.
Rebecca is here.
Chloe is here.
Rebecca.
Rebecca, have Rebecca come in. And Chloe is here before you're here. Hi, Carl.
Hi, I'm just another citizen. I am also opposed to Blackwater. I don't think we need to deal with mercenaries. I don't think our nation needs to be dealing with them, and I certainly don't think the college needs to be dealing with them. Thank you.
My name is Chloe Arenas, and as a former student, I would be appalled to know that Blackwater Z was at the college. The history of that company is so far away from what this college teaches that it would be unbelievable to know that they were using your name as a form of advertising, or asking young men and women to join them in their crusade of death and making those children nothing but cannon fodder. I think you need to reconsider. Thank you.
There's a community member here who would like to speak, who didn't get a chance to fill out a yellow card, so I'd like to cede my time to her.
No, you have to give your own time yourself.
Okay. Sorry, we're out there. We can't really hear what's being said up here. We can only hear this microphone. Sorry. Just so you know, it's very difficult to hear out there. I'm Rebecca Volnievich. I am a communication instructor here. This is my third time at a board meeting, my second time speaking against this MOU with Blackwater Z. It's just a bad idea. I mean, Bob Filner was here. People from the community are coming here. When is the last time a large group of community members just came out to Southwestern College to speak so passionately about an issue? The things that the people have been saying, I'm sorry, they're true. And it's not just a few things that have gone wrong with this company. It is multiple. You know, it's interesting. I read stories about how colleges stop buying a certain brand of sweatshirt for their bookstore because they hear that maybe a company harmed an animal making some wool product that's not even sold at the school, so they boycott that company. Or you hear that maybe some people who in this country would believe are too young to be working are constructing sweatshirts. And they don't think that that's ethical. So those schools say, hey, we're going to boycott that product. Sorry. But at Southwestern College, there is this company that is all over the news. There are, questions of murder and torture and extraordinary rendition. And Southwestern College is going, yeah, okay, maybe, sure, why not? It's just not a good idea. I'm so worried. October's coming. October is accreditation time. I went to this school as a young person. I grew up in Chula Vista. I was working in Maine. I was working in Illinois. I had a chance to come back to my community and work with people just like me to help them get through college. I'm the first person in my family to ever get a degree. And I feel so blessed to have a job in the community where I help people. And I am so vastly embarrassed. This is so embarrassing. It's a bad call. I know you're trying to help people in the police academy here, but this is not the way to do it, folks. Please, I'm asking you, please. Don't shame our school. Don't shame our community. And right now, I'm just ashamed myself. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Rodriguez and Vivian Valdivia.
My name is Mark Penelescu. I'm a faculty member here, and I want to congratulate you because I really like what you've done with the place. It's nice and clean and airy, and you completely eliminated anybody who might want to be part of this meeting. And I just got this tonight when I got here. And in 2 short minutes, you have violated 5 of these 10 precepts. You have not created a climate of listening. You have not communicated aggressively with everybody. You are not relating to the community. You have not solicited every citizen's help, and most of all, you've broken a promise that there will be no secrets and no surprises. This comes from a book called Making a Bad Situation Good by Raj Chopra. I'm not a political person. I would rather be in the classroom. I'd rather be teaching. I don't want to be here talking about Blackwater. I don't want to be talking to people who can't see what Blackwater is. You have made my school not only a laughingstock locally, but nationally. I'm getting emails from friends in Chicago, Boston, San Francisco, and they're saying, who are these people? Aren't they aware of the world condemnation of this company? Don't they have any morality? Don't they have some code of ethics that prevents them from entering into agreements with internationally reviled organizations? I tell them that is not my school. My students, my colleagues, my co-workers, the community recognizes that this is bad for our school, bad for our students. It is our president and our governing board who seem not to care about ethics or morality. It is they who, in order to save a few pennies, have entered into a deal that is despicable. I tell them, I have to tell them, that I have evidence that my board is prejudiced and biased, that they discriminate. I tell them that 2 meetings ago, one of the board members declared that he served in the armed forces and therefore supported Blackwater. Another one of the board members said, oh, I have a police background, so I support Blackwater. I'm in favor of this. My friends were aghast. They asked me, don't you teach your students how not to discriminate? Don't you teach your students how to put their prejudices aside and evaluate the situation objectively based on the merits? I tell them, yes. That's what I do in the classroom. Our college supports eliminating discrimination and overcoming prejudice. It's just that this message doesn't seem to reach our administrators. I tell my friends that one of our board members claimed the entire company of Blackwater couldn't be bad just because of the mistakes of a few. Well, there are 310 private security firms in Iraq.
Thank you, time is up. Thank you.
You can have my time.
You cannot do that, you can take your time. You can take your own time. And he will be removed if he continues.
310 security firms in Iraq. Only one has its president under investigation for lying to Congress. 310 security firms in Iraq, only one of them have been under investigation for income tax evasion. 310 security firms in Iraq, only one, just last week, is under investigation for smuggling guns out of Iraq.
What are you afraid of?
Yes, what are you afraid of?
You are
3
shaking
minutes. It's
the
only
school.
3 minutes. How much should they pay you?
What are you afraid of?
3 minutes.
I am sorry, you're all going to be removed if you continue this.
All right, yes.
Mark Penelope or Rose? Who is the next one? Okay, Pat Gracias, Russ Moore, and Pat Gracias and Russ Moore. How much do they pay you?
Hi, my name is Kat Gracian. I'm just an American citizen who is very concerned about the militarization of our nation and of our schools. And I find it despicable that any organization that considers itself an educational facility should stoop to the depths of allowing a company that has been in the news for committing atrocities against innocent people in another nation and against our own American citizens in Katrina. They victimized our own fellow Americans, and this is the future that we face when we allow people like this to gain power. And they are gaining power, and we are allowing them to change our society into one which we can fear. I don't want to live in a country with fear, with tyranny surrounding my every move, with tyranny in my daily life. And this is what we face when we allow mercenaries who have grown powerful and rich and full of powerful arms through our own taxpayer money that has been handed to them, when we allow this kind of an organization to have control over our educational system, over our government, over our lives, our daily lives. I don't want to face a future like this. It's very frightening to me. And that's why I have this shirt. It says, remember and protect freedom. Freedom is lack of tyranny in our daily lives. It is not bristling with armor and controlling everybody's lives. Freedom is freedom from tyranny. Please reconsider your ideas here. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Russ Moore. I'm an instructor here at the college. I'm also a 29-year law enforcement veteran. I come here representing myself tonight, and I also represent the students of Southwestern College. Law enforcement training is very difficult. It's very hard for the students to go through the law enforcement training. It is also very expensive. The Police Academy here at the college, for information for everybody, is the most expensive program Southwestern College has for a student. It costs a student $3,000 of their own money to go through the program. Very expensive. You know, the law enforcement training is hard. It is very difficult because the job is very difficult. Public expectation for police officers is very high, and it gets higher every single day. I think what the crowd is overlooking is Blackwater itself has many different divisions. We are dealing with the training division of Blackwater. We are not dealing with the international contracting division. It's apples and oranges. Okay?
Well, we have listened, everybody's listened to you, and we're respectful to listen to everyone that speaks.
As somebody who has been to Blackwater facility and participated in the training down there, one of the misconceptions I'd like to dispel tonight is that Blackwater is there recruiting. Blackwater personnel are not there when we are there training. They give us a key to the building. We go in and utilize our facility for free, emphasizing for free. The students don't pay.
Nothing's for free.
There's nobody stepping up here that's going to help those poor students. Most of them.
Quiet, please. Quiet. No comments.
So again,
they didn't comment when you were talking.
Nobody from Blackwater is present. Nobody has been there recruiting. It's a fallacy that goes on there. Definitely not. It doesn't happen. But Blackwater is the training division is one division of Blackwater. If we're going to look at this, everybody here that's got a cell phone in their pocket, shame on you. Qualcomm probably made the chips in that. Qualcomm also makes the chips that the U.S. Army uses.
You should be addressing
Okay, I'm sorry. Qualcomm makes the chips that the U.S. Army uses. Don't use your cell phone. Boeing makes airplanes that the F-16s that drop bombs over there. They also make United Airlines. Don't fly anymore. The cars you drove here tonight in are made by Ford, Chevy, Dodge. They also make vehicles for the Army. Don't drive your cars anymore. It's the same analogy of Blackwater. So again, I realize, is it politically correct to go with Blackwater? That depends on what side of the fence you're on. But what side of the fence is on isn't right for the students. Yes, it is. Because it benefits the students. Money does not come out of their pockets. There's nobody going to step up and help these poor students. So I say, let us utilize Blackwater facilities because it's free and it benefits the students, bottom line. Thank you.
We have Al Barrett, Jerry Dan.
Because I'm representing myself, not the department. I can I'll write a phone number down for you.
Pardon me?
Sorry, I'm losing my voice.
Anybody spams me or anybody crank calls me or spams me? I'll find you. Hey, I'll talk to you outside.
Can I help her? She's lost her voice. Okay. Why is it that a company would want to change its name? Because of the dirt, the corruption, the enmity associated with the original name. Blackwater, untouchable by Iraqi law, untouchable by U.S. law, capable of all sorts of human rights violations without sanction, has dismissed and cleared out of Iraq over 200 of its own employees for violating human rights. That's the kind of people they employ. Over 200. All we need is one on this campus. Talking with a captain in the U.S. Navy SEALs and the highest ranking sergeant major in the U.S. Marine Corps, both have standing orders to anyone in their command. If they are in a room and anyone from any division of Blackwater comes in, leave the room. If anyone comes into a room from Blackwater that you're in, leave the room. There's going to be trouble. These are the people that the military is dealing with. Your entering into any sort of agreement with this company shames you, shames the college, and undermines the work that we try to do in our classrooms. You are setting a negative example for our students, and you are humiliating this school. Thank you.
Well, good evening again, folks. I thought this might be the last episode of this, but it doesn't look like it will. So for tonight's episode of Ray Lutz versus Blackwater, I'll be referring to a letter from Mr. Lutz to the members of the governing board that you should have gotten in your email. First from the letter, quote, "The proposed agreement allows Blackwater operatives to make presentations to the staff and possibly to students. The schedule is to be determined, but we want to determine now. We want to know what they're going to be saying." Well, here's the answer, folks. Where is this outright lie in the MOU? The word determined only appears once in the MOU, and it applies to the requirement that students and faculty receive a briefing about the rules and regulations as well as the proper use of the facility once at the beginning of each semester at a schedule determined jointly between both parties. In a facility where firearms are used, isn't a safety brief sort of important? Next, the use of the facility, this is a quote from the letter, has been expanded from the earlier agreement from just using the shooting range to also classrooms, mat area, and perhaps even the kill house built inside the building because the use is not strictly limited. Well, my thoughts are, what's with all the scary assumptions? There isn't any mention of something called the kill house in the MOU, but even if there were a so-called house, and if it exists and is employed in the training curriculum, doesn't that lend itself to a more realistic training scenario? In the real world, police officers rarely find themselves in a shootout with paper targets at a fixed distance. And then there's this. The claim that shooting ranges are not available is not substantiated. Well, we've heard from one of the training officers. It's not a question as to whether or not they're available. It's a problem with scheduling and cost. Which of the faculty members at this campus is willing to give up some or all of their travel money? Maybe the speech and debate team could give up some of their travel money in order to provide transportation for the police academy to get to a more distant and less accessible shooting range. Here's another questionable item. The termination clause. It's a common clause that's in every contract that every business makes. If they want to terminate, it just says in the MOU, plainly stated, they need to give us 4 months so we can make plans for our police academy in the interim. The proposed agreement, this is from the letter, the proposed agreement restricts access to the facility so observers can't find out what they are doing inside. In a public institution, the public must have the ability to provide oversight. What is so secret and mysterious that Blackwater cannot allow oversight by the public? Is something illegal going on inside? Are they performing religious indoctrination as part of the training program? This is just another misrepresentation by Mr. Lutz. First, why does he feel that the facility should be publicly accessible just because we're using it? All companies, IBM, every major company, even the ones that Mr. Lutz doesn't hate, use non-disclosure agreements in their contracts. Once again, he's trying to make a common contractual item appear to be something it's not. Fortunately for him, the people that follow him and hang on his every word aren't savvy enough in business to realize he's playing to their ignorance and working off their fear. Mr. Lutz also said, well, ladies and gentlemen, stick up for the students. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jerry Vandewey. I am here as just a private citizen. I will ask the audience to be quiet, please.
Oh, yes, please. Let's show respect
To
You all
give-
had respect, so let's show respect for those others as well.
To give full disclosure, over 6 months ago, I did do PR work for Blackwater and was paid for it. So I do have an intimate knowledge of the company and what's going on. I do have to say though, unlike the first speaker this evening, I will not make any threats to the board. I will not bring people back. I will not come every time. I will not drag this on and on. The complaint letter was just covered for the most part. There are many parts of it, though, that are just blatant factual errors. Okay? This company, yes, there are lawsuits, but there are many parts to a lawsuit. One, everyone is innocent until proven guilty. If we wait until that happens, then we can decide whether things were right or wrong. The company has tried to take action against those that did do things that were wrong. Eric Prince stood before Congress and said that he did want oversight. He did it on public television. I watched it on CNN.
Excuse me, Madam President. I can't concentrate with all that noise going on outside.
Thank you. I was losing my place as well.
Officers, would you please control it outside?
Madam Chair, if I could suggest that the volume internally be increased so that we can shut out the noise without having the officers involved in an altercation. So whoever's in charge of the volume for the mics, we can turn up the mic.
Mr. Wilson, is that possible?
Yes.
Yes, you can.
Would you like the meeting?
No, that's okay. We'll continue on and just do the best that you can.
Happy to. The lawsuits have nothing to do with, as someone mentioned before, the training center. The training center in Southwestern College, there's nothing that's going to be a problem with the lawsuits that are already there. The OTI facility, that lawsuit, the reason that it did not continue, the reason that the new city attorney did not continue it was a wrongful suit. While yes, there were numerous contractors used to build the facility and to get the permits for the facility, there is nothing wrong with that. It is totally legal. The city has done 3 different studies of it and found nothing wrong. The city attorney, Mike LeGarry, did decide there was something wrong and tried to do something about it, but once he was out of office, the next city attorney dropped it, and actually the city settled with Blackwater. I would actually applaud the MOU. I would actually say that this is one of the best facilities that I've seen. I do a lot of shooting. I have seen this facility. I've toured not only this facility, but I've been to their North Carolina facility and seen that. These are completely safe, above board properties. If you want your students to be trained well, your professors, your teachers are the ones doing the training. This is the facility that they can do it at. I would encourage Mr. Lutz to create a regional security summit. By all means, create it. Take part in it. Let's find out where other ranges are that can be used. But in all honesty, this is the one that's here, that's available, and that's the right price in the budget situation that the state of California is in right now. That's not going to change anytime soon. Thank you for your time.
We still have one other speaker.
Oh, you call my name and speak it.
Robert,
Too loud.
Testing. When each of you were elected, you all promised to put as many students through college as quickly as you can and as inexpensively as you can. By approving the MOU, you will fulfill your commitment to the taxpayers and to students. Any savings should be passed on to the students and the taxpayers. No one in this economy can afford otherwise. There are students who put themselves through the police academy. I've had friends to do that. It's not cheap and it's very difficult. I was lucky enough to have an agency, and every agency wanted to cut costs. Getting the highest quality of training facilities at no cost is a win-win. It promotes both time and cost efficiencies. Probably and equally more important is providing the best training as possible. As a former police officer who was out there on the streets, I was taught to rely on my training in life danger situations as well as life saving. By approving the MOU, you will increase the chances of saving not only the lives of first responders, but to the public as well. No price can be put on that. The MOU should be approved because not only the time and cost savings, but it also improves the lives of the students that you serve today. Thank you very much.
Madam President, may I have the name of the last speaker, please?
Yes. It was Robert Buco.
Okay, hi, I'm Vivian Valdivia on behalf of Congressman Bob Filner. Let the record state. I would just like to have it on the record that Congressman Bob Filner adamantly opposes Southwestern College's contract with Blackwater. As you know, Blackwater was not able to renew its contract in Iraq due to their history of civil and paramilitary abuse. If they are not considered trustworthy in a war-torn environment, then they should not be allowed to train students in Southwestern College. As Congressman Filner mentioned during the last board meeting, Southwestern College should not sell out to the lowest bidder. Blackwater's claim to offer the facility for free should be viewed with healthy skepticism and caution. Remember, Southwestern College is putting its good name on the line for a group that is not aligned with the great values of this institution. On behalf of Congressman Bob Filner, I urge you to consider rescinding this contract. Thank you.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I would like to make a motion that we reject the amendments and we reject the contract with Blackwater.
I need to refer to a parliamentarian.
So the parliamentary could consider. There was a motion at the last board meeting already to direct staff to revise the agreement and to bring it back, and that's just this item. And before we get into the actual discussion by the board, I would like to have the staff's report on the revisions that were requested, what revisions were made.
We can discuss that. First of all, I'm sorry. Point of order here, please. May I ask the parliamentarian?
Just to be clear, I'm not asking for any action. I'm just asking for additional information.
But that would come in our discussion.
Before the board action.
I was going to make the motion to approve the memorandum of understanding, and then we go from there, right? I'm sorry, you're not in this discussion.
What is posted on the agenda is the motion to approve the amended memorandum of understanding that has been introduced by Dr. Roach. On the floor currently is the motion to approve the amended memorandum of understanding.
And we are voting on the six amendments that were proposed at our last board meeting that we will be voting.
So point of clarification, I cannot make a motion to reject the proposal?
Why not? Why not? Why not?
You're not, be quiet. Yes, parliamentarian, would you please answer?
The question is, can you make a motion to to
Reject.
reject
Yes.
the motion.
Which is the motion I made before.
Defeating the motion is rejecting it. So to make a motion which is already on the floor would be inappropriate.
I'm sorry, for clarification, was this motion carried over from the last meeting? Or just, I'm sorry, wait, because you said that there was a motion already on the floor. And I may have blanked out, but I thought the first,
This is the motion.
Well, no, just one clarification. I didn't hear anybody, the only motion that I heard presented to the board was trustee Violet's motion to, trustee Violet's motion. And her motion was not the one that you described. So who made the motion that you just presented as being on the table?
I believe the chair indicated that the next item of business was item 16A, which is in the close to the agenda.
Yes.
That is making the motion to amend.
I'm sorry, there's no motion. That's what I said. Who made the motion to approve that?
The chair moved the motion 16A. It's
I-
an action item on the
It's an
posted
action
agenda.
item, and I
And you
would-
approved to modify the agenda to hear 16A following oral communication.
And Mrs. Valladomi interrupted before I could make the motion. So therefore,
I'll defer to you.
okay. So the motion is to approve the amended memorandum of understanding, the MOA, MOU rather, for the period of January 31, 2009 through December 31, 2013, inclusive at no cost to the district. Now, and then I open it up. And I need a second. Is there a second on the motion? Okay, a second. Now we open it up for discussion.
Just before we get into the merits of it, I just want to give the president the opportunity to inform the public of the amendments, because not everybody has actually seen them, and to explain the rationale for the revisions that were presented, so that there's clear understanding as to what the board is being asked to do.
We're being asked to vote on.
No, in terms of background information, it's common for boards to get background information from the president or his staff.
Oh, all right. Okay, so Dr. Chopin will be getting the presentation.
Thank you, Madam President. In the last board meeting, we were directed to address 6 concerns of the amendments, which was the amendments which were proposed. So I would just go, the first amendment was amend termination clause to provide a 4-month written notice of termination by either party. The second amendment, which was asked by the board or directed by the board, was amend the confidentiality clause to limit its application solely to proprietary information relating to XE Services, LLC, business activities such as methods, processes, clients, etc. Third, eliminate binding arbitration clause. Fourth, make California law the applicable law. Fifth, eliminate the clause that give XE Services, LLC the contractual right to use SWC facilities. Sixth, eliminate clause for reimbursement for XE Services, LLC. During the negotiation process, XE Services, LLC agreed to district recommended revision. The contract has been reviewed by the district legal counsel, Miller, Brown, and Dennis. The MOU supports the use of the XE Services, LLC facility, U.S. Training Center, Southwest Inc., located at 7685 St. Pierre Vivier Road, San Diego, California, for the purpose of firearm training as part of the requirement for the Southwestern College Police Academy program.
Now, as far as the additional information I received this afternoon, matrix identifying the cost of use of and or availability of the use of other ranges within a reasonable, I think for the San Diego County, I couldn't tell entirely. And could the President describe what that is and what options, if any, are available to our students that are within reasonable distance from Southwestern College?
I might add, if that's available for the public, that there's a few copies of the same matrix.
Well, that may not be available to everybody. That's why I'm asking that the President go through it.
Madam President, Mr. Edward, we looked at various ranges which we feel are in existence in the San Diego County. We looked at San Diego Regional Training Center firearm range, and it's not open to use by the SWC or other private public entities. Miramar Sheriff Range, and we explained also the distance and so on, but range will close for lead cleanup and renovation in May, June 2009. Future availability and cost is uncertain at this time, therefore range is unable to meet the requirements of the program. San Diego Police Department firearm range, the range is only available for the agency during the week and for special events on weekends, not ongoing activities. Therefore, range is unable to meet the requirements of the program. And Madam President, these conclusions, therefore the range is unable to meet the requirements of the program, are drawn by our director of the academy program. So it is a knowledgeable person who is coming to that conclusion. Discount gun indoor range not open to use by SWC. Project 2000 shooting range facility 2082 Willow Glen Drive. Consistent availability of the range is not guaranteed. Therefore, range is unable to meet the requirements of the program. Discount gun indoor range not open to use by SWC. American Shooting Center. Consistent availability of the range is not guaranteed. Therefore, range is unable to meet the requirements of the program. SD Gun and Rod Club. Consistent availability of the range is not guaranteed, therefore range is unable to meet the requirement of the program. U.S. Training Center, Southwestern, that's what we are talking about, no cost to the district. The district has an existing MOU for use of the range at the U.S. Training Center, Southwest. This agency range accommodates the police academy scheduling needs and meet the requirements of the program.
Thank you. Yes, Mrs. Garcia.
If it's all right, with Dr. Chopra's authorization, I would like to go ahead and hear from our staff who are actually in charge of the program. Do we have anyone here that?
We would like to call upon the dean from Otimesa here, and I'm sure, oh, here it is. Would you please?
Good evening. Well, what I would like to do, and thank you for this opportunity, is perhaps start by providing a little bit of background information on the Police Academy that might be helpful. First of all, the Southwestern College Police Academy has been in existence since 1984. It's a very valued program, and it is currently housed at the Higher Education Center at Otay Mesa. The Southwestern College Police Academy is a non-affiliated police academy, which means that it is not tied to any one particular law enforcement agency, and so anyone is welcome to apply. The way the police academy is structured is that it is an extended program. It is a 10.5-month program, and it is offered in an evening and weekend program structure. Students attend classes Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday evenings, and all day Saturdays. Every year we offer 2 academies, one that starts in January, another one that starts in July. Each one of those academies can accommodate up to 35 students. So every year we are training up to 70 students. As part of these academies, we also accept students from the Grossmont College Police Academy because their academy only offers part of what is required for certification. So they take the first part of the police academy at Grossmont and then transfer into our program. The Police Academy graduates who become certified through our program meet basic requirements for employment in municipal, county, and state law enforcement agencies, as our Police Academy is certified by the California Commission on Peace Officers Standards and Training, also known as COAST. In addition to these 2 police academies that we run every year, the police academy also offers a post-certified requalification course for people in law enforcement who have had a break in their service and want to return to their field, and also an arrest and firearms course. All of these courses, the 2 police academies and the 2 additional courses, require that students have access to firing ranges. And there are a minimum number of hours that these students have to train at a range that include both daytime and evening hours. In the fall of 2008, the Police Academy director informed the dean of the need to look for an alternative range, as the one that was being used, the Miramar Sheriff's Range, would no longer be available for consistent scheduling on Saturdays. And again, that's our daytime, that's our day. The other 3 days are evenings. And again, we're required to train shooting both daytime and evening hours. In addition to the inconsistency of the scheduling, for example, we were told that we could no longer schedule the range in advance, so we couldn't plan out our training dates. We were also starting to receive calls from the range canceling our scheduled sessions. But again, in addition to that, we were also informed that the range would close sometime in the summer of 2009 for renovation and lead removal. And they were all unable to tell us whether after that renovation the range was going to be available to Southwestern College beyond that time. So research was conducted, and Dr. Chopra just went through our findings, and it was determined that using the U.S. Training Center Southwest, owned by Z Services, was the best option, as it allowed us to meet the training needs of our students in the police academy. And those needs are, first of all, that their availability meets our scheduling needs. Secondly, the quality of the facility is superior, and the proximity to the higher education center at Otay Mesa, where the police academy is housed, is less than a mile away. And lastly, the use of this facility would come at no cost to the district or to the students.
Yes, are you here? Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I would like to speak against the motion. And primarily, I mean, I understand, and I have no question at all about the beauty of the facilities and the accessibility and the fact that no cost. And I also want to reiterate what one of the comments made is that there is no such thing as free. There's no such thing as no cost. I mean, we're giving one good name for somebody. You know, and I know some of the speakers were very dramatic, but I actually have followed this corporation for the last few years. I remember reading about the atrocities that were done in Iraq, and the fact that the U.S. canceled their contract. So it's not, I mean, it's not a lot of grandstanding, but I personally have followed this. And so I tend to agree with the comments made about the fact that we cannot give up our good name for the sake of something that is, quote, free, or something that is very accessible. I would urge my colleagues to please vote against this, and I'm sure that we can be creative in finding a place that is accessible, that meets the needs of our students. And with Congressman Bob Fillmore feeling as strong as he is, I'm sure he will help us find a facility that will meet the needs of our students. The fact that, I saw it in the paper that there's 4 lawsuits, and the national media is going to be here. It's not going to go away. We're going to be caught in the middle of this muddy, ugly scenario. And I don't think it's something that we want our students to be part of. I mean, we have to be ethical. We have to make a position. We have to take the stand against, what's good for the college and what we think may be like, a no cost. So I would urge my colleagues to vote against this, and let's be creative and come up with another solution of where we can have our academy students practice.
Before getting into the merits, a clarification for some of the revisions, specifically the revision about the gag order, aid confidentiality clause. And I see that you've made some revisions, but item 7, which is the item that in the original agreement entitled media, is the one that caused the problem. So I wanted further explanation as to the nature of those revisions and why media was particularly targeted, as opposed to anybody else, for the application of item 7. Also, item 9, there was a specific request that the reimbursement clause be eliminated. And I see that in the revised revision, item 9, that the reimbursement clause is still in the agreement. So I'd like staff to address the rationale for that before getting into the merits of the motion.
Yes, Dr. Shelter. Do you want to call on staff for that, or would you?
Excuse me, Trustee Aguilar, if I can ask for clarification. Can you indicate on the agreement where that clause is stated that talks about reimbursement?
Well, let's go first in order. Item 7, which is entitled Media in this revised agreement, and it was entitled Media in the initial agreement. And that's a provision that originally caused one of the problems of the gag order, excluding the media and not allowing the college to make any statement without the prior approval, etc. And I've noticed that you've made some revisions, but I want to hear your explanation as to why the media is specifically targeted in this one, and why, for example, couldn't have been entitled, or couldn't be entitled, facility access, because that's in reading content. It talks about who should be accessing the facility. And if you delete, in the second sentence, if you delete media, it says no other person, presumably, no other person or organization, presumably that would cover media, if we take care of it. So I want to know why it is that the media was specifically left in there when, in fact, it's not, I recognize that the model that I gave didn't explicitly ask to not target media, but that was a very strong implication. So, but I want to hear from both you and even legal counsel as to the implications for targeting a specific group for this exclusion while not targeting others.
I'll go ahead and basically we left that in only because that was not one of the items that was listed as being required to be revised. But we did have our legal counsel look at that, and the language that currently exists in the amended contract is what was recommended by legal counsel as something that would be more appropriate for us to keep this particular clause in.
I wouldn't draw too much from just the heading of a particular paragraph or section.
Well, but it's actually in the text, starting the second sentence, there's no media.
Correct. I was going to get to that point.
Okay.
So really what the provision provides is to who has access.
Right.
And you're right, Trustee Aguilar. The second sentence talks about that no media or other persons or organizations under the district's control will be permitted to enter the facility without written consent by the agency.
Yeah, the rest of the sentence, I think you've done an excellent job of making it clear that the college is not going to have to get prior permission to talk about the training that goes on for our students, or talk about the police academy. But part of the problem of the original MOU was the quote gag order and exclusion of the media specifically. And unless there's, what is the rationale for specifically including media as an identifiable group? Why can't you just delete media and just say other persons, organizations, et cetera, et cetera?
I think it highlights an issue. It's trying to add clarity to what the access rights are of persons, organizations, including the media. I don't think there's anything in the paragraph that suggests a gag order or any restriction. In fact, there are recognitions as to what is required by law. That's going to be respected. And there also is protection about disclosure of proprietary information. It really goes no farther than that.
So would there be any problem in deleting the reference to the media, both with the title and the content?
If that was the desire of the board, it's a possibility. From a legal standpoint, I don't see that it adds or detracts much from the substance of that provision.
Okay. Now going on to item number 9. In the original agreement, that's where the clause of reimbursement resided. And in this revised agreement, and I could have missed it, but I didn't see any revisions to number 9, paragraph 9. And I see specifically that reimbursement, the reference to reimbursement is still the same. And that was one of the specific items that was directed to be deleted from in part of the division.
I apologize, Trustee Aguilar. Where exactly is that on the new agreement?
It's on page 4 at the bottom, number 9, non-obligation document. It's also the same title in the old agreement, non-obligation document. It's the second line, actually the third line if you take the title. It's about the middle of the first sentence. Since this agreement is neither fiscal nor, second sentence. Any endeavor or transfer of anything of value involving reimbursement or contribution of funds, et cetera, et cetera. And that was in the revised agreement. In the original agreement, that second sentence says, any endeavor or transfer of anything of value involving reimbursement or contribution of funds, et cetera, et cetera. So there was absolutely no revision made of this clause when there was a specific direction from the board for the motion to delete it.
In the original agreement that was submitted to the board in January, there was section D that talked about we talked about reimburse agency for the use of personnel required to operate the range, as well as provide agency the use of...
I'm sorry, what page are you looking at?
This is at the original agreement.
Yeah, what page?
Page 2, section D.
Section D, okay.
That was the direction that the staff was provided was to delete that section that made reference to the use of conference rooms as well as to reimburse the agency for personnel. That is no longer part of the amended agreement. That's the clause that was deleted.
Okay, well, but I don't think, I see. So they're, as opposed to just deleting references to reimbursement.
Well,
now, if you could explain then the implications or the significance of
well, I think what's helpful in maintaining paragraph 9
yes.
is that it clearly states that there is to be no reimbursement. This agreement does not deal with exchange of money for service, vice versa. And in that paragraph 9, it says there's no such authority for that in this agreement. If that is going to be necessary, exchange of money, then that
agreement.
That's right. We need to enter into either an amendment or an additional agreement that would explain and provide for that.
Okay, well that was very helpful because to point that out and to make it clear that this reference to reimbursement in item 9 in no way obligates or imposes or creates an obligation by the college to provide Z any reimbursement of any type unless there is a prior agreement from the board. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, Dr. Dominguez.
Are we in discussion now?
Yes,
okay.
we are.
A couple of comments here. You know, this is not an easy decision. It is obviously it's charged with a lot of controversy, and there are two sides to this coin. One of them is our duty to provide the best services to our students. Because we understand it's a controversial organization we're dealing with, we asked staff to go and take a look to see if we could find an alternative, because our minds are not shut to other options. Unfortunately, what we found so far is that it appears that there are no other alternatives. With all due respect to Trustee Violet, I think it's a little short-sighted to just say that maybe Bob Fillner or somebody's going to find a solution for us. That may or may not happen. So, it's a difficult thing to do. What I would like to do at this point, see if I can do this, Mr. Parliamentarian, is to make a motion to table this item. We're in the middle of a motion already, so that we can look into it further, because I am not opposed if we can find an alternative solution to this, to using that solution. But at this point, it doesn't appear it's all like maybe or perhaps. I'd like to be sure that there is or isn't a solution, and if there is, then the board can consider that one as well.
Okay, for clarification,
I made a motion, I'm waiting for that.
You want a substitute motion?
He asked for clarification from the parliamentarian.
Dennis Spillane, parliamentarian. The motion to table would not be appropriate at this time. If you would like to have further consideration of the motion to amend the memorandum of understanding, you can make a motion to refer the motion back to staff, which in fact takes the document that you have before you now, the original and the amendment, back to staff for them to continue to work on the document.
I'd like to make a motion to refer this item back to staff.
Second.
For parliamentarian, is there, what I would like to do is submit a substitute motion. And I don't want to further confuse. I want to make sure that I am proceeding in a parliamentary manner.
Mr. Parliamentarian?
It is appropriate to submit a substitute motion for the motion to refer.
I would like to then propose a substitute motion and a motion to recur. And my substitute motion is, well, that's what I was trying to get clarification, so whether you were asking for a substitute motion or a new motion.
I want a motion to refer this back to staff, so I wanted to.
And what
And I thought it was seconded.
Yes.
There was discussion.
Well, but I am asking from parliamentarian to whether it would be appropriate to put on the table a substitute motion on the motion to refer. Or whether the motion to refer isn't be a substitute motion on the original motion.
Madam President, before if I can just come in and I've been given the floor.
No, I'm sorry, point of order. We have a question to the parliamentarian before we get to anything else.
Right, but
Mrs. Salcedo has something to add to that.
And the board chair has given me the floor. And the reason that I'm interjecting is that we can go ahead and make motion upon motion upon motion, and we can keep on going. And it's getting really super confusing. Now, my issue here is that what we are making motion upon motion about is about an amendment. What we are not, and I want to make sure that, because I need to be clear in my mind, that we're not even touching the initial contract. So if the amendment goes back and we go ahead and make all these motions, we're making...
She's talking about the merits of it, and I still need clarification as to whether the motion is appropriate.
What I'm asking of my colleagues, is that to take that into consideration, that whatever motion is being made on the amendment. It's not being made, and for us not to think that it's being made to the heart of the contract. So when we come back, we're still going to be dealing with the amendment and never touching the heart of the contract. I just want to go ahead and put that out, because we can make amendments to our amendments until the cows come home, and we're still dealing with the amendment.
Now, Madam President, we need clarification from the parliamentarian on the appropriate motion.
Do we have a clarification then?
Ms. Spillane, parliamentarian, my understanding, the actions that have occurred is you have a main motion on the floor. That main motion is to approve the amended memorandum. There has been a motion placed on the floor to refer that motion back to staff. The question of my understanding from Trustee Aguilera is, can he now substitute another motion for the motion to refer?
Correct.
And he may substitute a motion for the motion to refer.
Thank you. I propose a substitute motion. The substitute motion is to approve the revised MOU.
Excuse me. The substitute motion that you're making must be relative to the motion to refer. If you're substituting for a motion, you cannot change the germane to it.
Well, that's why I'm getting there. Well, I see your point. I'll withdraw my substitute motion and see what happens. And, we can discuss. But under discussion, then, when it's appropriate for me, I don't want to dominate on Mr. Dominguez's motion. So I'll wait for my comments on that.
So we need to have a discussion on refer back to Dr. Dominguez's suggestion that we refer back to the staff. So this is under discussion. Yes, Dr. Dominguez.
Yes, Madam President. I believe staff's done a good job of following the instructions and direction of the board with this amendment. I think it's perfect. However, my motion to refer back to staff really is an attempt for other people to try to find another alternative. Is really why I'm doing this. And of course, you gotta understand at some point we gotta make a decision. So we're gonna. My intent is to, Bob. There's mention that maybe Bob Filner could help us out. We're gonna allow some folks to offer a suitable option for our students. If that can't be found, then we're going to have to proceed with the amendment to the contract.
Any other discussion?
Thank you. What I want to go back to once again is that the motion is being for referring the amendment back to staff. Then what comes back to us is going to be the amendment. If at the time that we go ahead and we vote, and let's assume that we go ahead and this board votes against the amendment, the contract, of my understanding, and I would defer to council, my understanding is that the only thing that would fail would be the amendment. We still have the contract that is still legitimate with the Blackwater. So in essence, and I'm not trying to offend anybody, but I just want to make clear with my mind that that is what we're doing. We have the amendment here that we are going to be voting. This is the contract. And when we come back, what we are asking is for the staff to look at the amendment again and for us to vote on the amendment. So when in fact, if it does go and we say yes, let's move forward with it, it becomes part of the contract. If the amendment fails, the contract, we are still obligated under the contract. That has not gone away. So that is my issue. And what it is that the fact that the amendment will go away does not mean that we have terminated the contract with Blackwater. I just want to make that very, very clear. Also, I want to go ahead and just say thank you, everyone, to coming. And I would also like to thank our congressman, my congressman, who represents me as well, because I'm a voter, longtime resident of this area. And I would like to say thank you for his comments and those of his staff. My only disappointment with that is that I wish that he would have come with a federal stimulus package check or specific commitments on how his office will secure federal funding for our community college during this very critical financial times. So that is what I wanted to go ahead and say to him. But it just concerns me, going back to the motion, it concerns me that we're not really sure as to whether we're dealing with the amendment, we're dealing with the contract. There's two different issues here, folks, so we need to address them in order for this district to move forward and deal with some of the serious issues that we have.
Yeah, my understanding though is that what we are doing is referring back to staff so that if we do find an alternative, an alternative facility, that then the staff can come back and say, we have an alternative, and we can turn down the contract if that's our wish.
For the general counsel, please.
Well, right, the clarification, and I don't know if it was a question that Trustee Beverly was asking or making a statement, but the clarification that I'm seeking is, and goes to Trustee Salcido's point, that with the motion that is currently on the floor to refer back to staff, the agreement that will remain in effect is the original agreement. That's the one that was approved by the board back in March, I believe. The one, that's what would be in effect without any of the revisions that were presented tonight. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. So I do want to make comments, but I want to let everybody else speak before I make my comments.
Well, I would like to say that I am not in favor of referring it back to staff because I think that we have a responsibility to, as a board, to get on with our business at hand. And this is taking up a tremendous amount of time from other business that the board has to take care of immediately. We have many things on this agenda and other agendas that is imperative that we begin to look at other issues as well. This has taken up a tremendous amount of my time, my effort, my thoughts, and I'm sorry about Blackwater. I'm sorry about the things that happen with Blackwater, but that does not have to, as far as I'm concerned, does not have anything to do with the course that we are offering at this school. And I'm determined to see that we offer the very best that we can. And Blackwater's facility is the very best in the nation that we have seen. And so I think that our police academy should have the very best that we could possibly have for our program. So I'm concerned about it. I would like to move ahead with this. If we refrain from voting on this, it's just going to continue on and on and on. And like Mr. Lush said, he's going to keep coming back and coming back and coming back. And so he does, but at least we have to make a decision, and we have to stand tall on whatever decision we make. And so if we have an amendment that we are to vote on, and I would like us to vote on this amendment and these 6 items that we have, and let's move on one way or the other. Yes, Mr.
Trustee Diaz want us?
I would agree with Trustee Ramirez's motion to refer back to staff to see if we have any other
The referral back to staff really gets us back to where we were the last time and doesn't make any progress. And it eliminates all of the revisions that were made that brought the agreement to a workable point. I am impressed that Congressman Filner, and for that matter, Councilman Van Wessel, who represents the San Diego City Council, representing South San Diego, which is in our district, that they are willing to step up to the plate. And I would, my thinking is that we should add a condition to whatever we do. First, I agree that we should not postpone or refer the agreement, so speaking against the motion. But in doing that, I do want to say that I would like to add to the board action, not just a wish, but as a part of the original motion, that we terminate the agreement as soon as Congressman Filner is able to give us the resources, and further that we establish a task force that would include the Congressman, Councilman Wessel, Southwestern College officials, the appropriate officials, and the San Diego Imperial County's Community College Trustees Association to look into the possibilities of establishing a regional fire range that would be devoted exclusively to meeting the needs of the police academies. Southwestern College, I believe Rosemont also has a police academy, because Miramar, San Diego City College, so that we do proceed with this on a regional basis as was proposed by a couple of the speakers. But on the motion on the table, I would speak against the bill for the moment. Call the question. So, parliamentarian, can I call the question?
You have to have approval of four others.
Well, no, what's the process, parliamentarian?
The appropriate way to call a question is to do as you did call the question when you've been recognized by the chair. The chair now must take a vote of the members of the board to determine whether the question has been called.
Thank you.
Okay. I call for the question.
Well, I just did.
Oh, we need a second, I'm sorry.
Do we need a second? I didn't.
We need a second. Do we have a second?
Apparently not.
Okay. Then it fails for a second, right?
Doesn't have a second.
So
Doesn't need a second.
So we just continue to discuss, right? Yes. All right, who would like to discuss?
I would also would vote against referring it back to staff. I think that staff has already done the research and has done extensive research. And my issue keeps coming back that if we go ahead and refer it back, we're not really dealing with the entire issue here. And we need to really go ahead and consider, and I do agree with Trustee Aguilar, that we need to go ahead and take a look at this. So if we're going to go ahead and take another look and see what alternatives we have, let's do it the right way. You know, we don't want to go ahead and keep on bringing the folks here in one way or another. You know, although we have differences of philosophical views, I also don't want to go ahead and keep on rehashing this over and over and over again, which is going to happen. Let's go ahead and go to the heart of it and deal with it so we can go ahead and move on instead of prolonging it even longer. Thank you.
I would second Trustee Salcido. She asked to call the question so we can actually move forward.
Call for the question.
Second.
Please vote. We're voting for. We're calling a voting question.
Stopping.
Yes, stopping debate.
Yes, stop debate.
Are we calling?
I just wanted the board to be clear what you're voting on and what a yes vote means and what a no.
Yes.
Calling for the question. Please vote. All voting yes, except for Mr. Dominguez, Dr. Dominguez. Okay? So we're going back to the motion as well. Okay.
This is a motion to refer.
This is a motion to.
Right, that's
to
correct.
refer.
Yes.
Right. So now we have to vote on the motion to refer. Okay? Please vote. Failed. So it will not be referred back to.
I'd like to substitute, make a substitute motion, Madam Chair.
It goes back to, and just point of clarification, we go back to.
I'm sorry, we have a
first.
point of order. We have a parliamentarian here for the purpose of giving us an opinion. Trustee Salcido.
Okay.
I understand that. My question is that now we go back to the original motion.
Well, that's what the parliamentarian here is to.
That's what I'm asking him. I'm asking him for a point of clarification.
Trustee Salcido was correct. The motion on the floor currently is to approve the amendments for the memorandum of understanding.
And I am proposing a substitute motion to that motion. And as I understand it, that's an appropriate action at this point, given that we the previous motion.
Mr. Parliamentarian, is that appropriate?
Make a substitute motion.
The substitute motion is to approve the revised agreement as presented tonight, and also to direct the President Chopra to establish a task force to develop a regional, to look into the possibilities of developing, constructing a regional firing range for the use of all community colleges that have a police academy or like requirements in the curriculum for qualifying firearms, and that we continue with the revised agreement pending the completion of such a firing range.
Madam President?
Yes.
The motion that was agendized and that the public had notice of was rather limited. The reason why we're supposed to give advance notice on the agenda is so that the public has notice, has a right to participate, has the right that many of these individuals have expressed today and shown up to express themselves. With all due respect, without commenting at all, Trustee Aguilar, on the merits of the motion you're making, it does seem to be, from a Brown Act perspective, not a parliamentarian perspective, from a Brown Act perspective, it seems to be, it is beyond the scope of the motion, the action item that was published in the agenda. I don't know if there's a parliamentary counterpart to that, but that's the Brown Act perspective.
Mr. Parliamentarian, is that correct? Is there any?
In accordance with the Brown Act, that is correct.
So
I'm sorry, because I just went through a workshop on the Brown Act, and I think I have. Not taking issue, but is there, what about the motion that makes it, takes it beyond the notification? Because as I understand it, the Brown Act only requires a general description of the action that's being proposed.
Essentially, you're asking for the creation of a task force, a committee that would be subject to the Brown Act, which is an action item that with all due respect, sir, I believe under the Brown Act, the public is entitled to advance notice of them. It's not necessarily a tweak or an amendment to the action items that's on the agenda. In my view, I think it goes too far.
Okay, well, I'll have to accept it since you're the counsel for the board, and in that case, I withdraw my motion, but in doing that, I would ask that an agenda item be posted for the June meeting, so that this board can take up the topic of directing the president superintendent in establishing a task force to develop regional facility that would enable community college students or any post-secondary education
you can ask that during the time when we give, when the board gives our request for items to be added.
Well, since there isn't any specific item where board members can ask for board agenda items, and it relates, no, it just asks for reports. It doesn't specifically state that that's when board members can ask for agenda items. So I just want to make it clear that this is something that rises out of here, and that's what I would want to request.
Point of clarification, is that a motion that is being made? We originally were setting up, moving on another motion. Is that another motion that is being put on the floor? I'm not exactly sure where we're at right now.
Well, let me restate. No, let me restate. I said that I would withdraw my motion.
Okay.
And therefore, and in doing that, if you would listen, please, until I finish, that in withdrawing my motion, I'm expressing my desire to have an agenda item placed on the future, in the June court agenda, so that we don't run afoul of the Brown Act as articulated by our general counsel.
And I think for clarity and just streamlining this action item, perhaps Trustee Aguilar's suggestion about the agenda item is better offered under item 22, where board members have the right to request information.
That's what I was trying to say. All right, so now, Mrs. Althea?
No, I just need clarification. So are we back on reviewing, back to the agenda, the initial motion, where we're considering the amendment? Is that where we're at? Okay.
Action item.
So we are back in discussion now. Okay, thank you.
Back in the item.
Madam President?
Yes, Dr. Dominguez.
Back to discussion. I think Trustee Salcido's points are well taken. If we refer this back and were to reject it, we would still be stuck with the original contract. I clearly understand that. I want everybody to know, my voting public, that my intent was to perhaps gain some time where we could look at this and maybe find another solution. It doesn't appear that that was an idea that would work. So I need to say that I am going to vote for the item as it appears on the agenda, with the hope that Trustee Aguilar's attempts to perhaps create a committee and his suggestion that maybe Mr. Billner can offer us another solution, at which time we can come back and take a look at this contract. But in the meantime, we cannot overlook the fact that our students need to proceed with their classes, and we have to offer them a solution, and this seems to be at this time the most viable one. But again, I reiterate, I'm doing this in the hope that we can go back and take a look to make sure that maybe there isn't something else we could do. With this in place, still look at that, and if something comes up, then we can bring this back for further consideration.
Mrs. Bailey?
Yeah, and for the public record, I will be voting against the motion, primarily because I believe that, and hopefully there will be a task force that will be formed and try to come up with an agreement or an arrangement. But I just think that this organization, this company is too controversial, and it has too much of a baggage to carry, and we should not have to put up with it.
I have been really, this has been really, really difficult for me, and I've gone from one side to the other, and I'm listening to everyone. And I acknowledge my colleagues' positions. I am also of the belief that this is taking way too much time for this district, for us to continue with this. Although the facilities are close by and it is cost effective for us to go ahead and have the facility there, I'm a strong supporter of the police academy as well as our recruits. And I hear the community's concerns. However, my position is that at this point in time, for me to go ahead and vote against the amendment that's before us, it takes us back to the original contract that stands. And if we had concerns about some of the language, that is done away with. So we go back to the original contract with the same concerns that were there from the very beginning. So it's like going back. The other is that I have a responsibility to our students that they are in a program at this point in time that they need to be able to use the facilities. And there is no other option at this point in time today that we can go ahead and refer our students to. I am a strong supporter that we definitely need to get out of the contract, that we need to be able to look at other options, that we need to be able to go ahead and come together with probably our community colleges partners, but that's not going to happen tomorrow. And we have to be very realistic about this. And so at this point in time, I'm not able to go ahead and take that step, just say no, because that means that it puts this district back to where we started. And I really think that we need to go ahead and take care of this, move forward. We got a huge budgetary problem that is coming, and we need to deal with it, and we need to make sure that this district moves forward, and we do it in the most responsible way. I do not support this company. I don't know, I'm aware of their history, but I don't have any vested interest in them. And nor do I am doing this because I feel that there's pressure or there's, there's a lot of things that are going on. That's not the reason why I'm voting on it. I'm voting on this because we need to get moving. And for us to do anything else is just going back to the same thing where we originally started.
Provide students the best education possible. In this instance, it actually enables the students to complete a requirement of one of the most important programs for our community, and that is the law enforcement academy that we have, police academy. And more directly, that this action actually benefits students. And that's why I asked that staff present the information about the alternatives that were available for students to use other facilities. And as a practical matter, there are no other alternatives within a reasonable distance from Southwestern College that would not incur a substantial expense to individual students, never mind the institution. So on top of the fact that the students would be very much inconvenienced in having to travel significant distances to the one existing firing range that we may be able to get access to. And the third rationale is actually, I think, more ephemeral or maybe complicated, and it's basic due process. There have been a lot of allegations made about Z and their parent corporation, which I don't take issue with. But to date, and I've invited whoever contacted me and spoke to me about this issue to provide me any information as to any criminal indictments, charges, never mind convictions, that either Z or Blackwater had been subjected to as corporations. To date, I have received no such information, and no such information, credible information, has been presented here tonight. And I understand that the business plan for these organizations is not my favorite. In fact, I personally oppose the business plans. But it's not. I'm not here to make policy decisions on my personal, ideological, or political positions. I'm here to represent the best interest of first the students, and to promote the mission of this institution to provide the best education possible for our students at the most reasonable and most convenient, at the most reasonable prices and at the most convenient facilities. And this agreement, as revised, meets all these requirements, and I would therefore again support the motion to approve the revised agreement, and hope that we can move on to find a better solution. And when we do that, we can come back and terminate the current arrangement.
Okay, call for the vote, and if we're to approve the amendment of the memorandum of understanding, everybody understand what we are approving at this point? Okay? All right, please vote. Okay. Vote passes, all saying aye, but Now, at this point, I think we need a 5-minute break.
I would like to say, if you had not screwed through that.
You're in better shape now.
Oh, hello. Veronica.
Cold in here. How are you? This is better than